Divorce Dad now while you can.
Yes, I blurted out without thinking. My daughter had just woken me up this early morning and asked me to divorce my husband. Even adults would be taken aback by such words. Why would my daughter say something like that? When I asked her to explain further, she said, "Well, Daddy wants to say goodbye to Mommy." What, goodbye? Is that true?
Yeah. That's why you need to do it quickly.
I didn't doubt what my daughter was saying, but the idea that my husband was thinking such a thing was hard to believe all of a sudden. However, my daughter's eyes were fixed firmly on my face. That's a level of seriousness that doesn't seem typical for a 5-year-old. It was a gaze so serious that it didn't seem like she was lying, not even for a moment. I understand. Nancy, get ready right away. Saying that, we packed our things and left the house together. My name is Emily Mitchell. Living with my husband David and our 5-year-old daughter Nancy. I met David during college, and we got married when I was about to graduate. I had planned to support my husband as a homemaker. However, my husband's career didn't go as planned, and I had to start working too, eventually becoming an employee at a local company. But the following year, I became pregnant, and after discussing with my husband about the future, I decided to quit my job. Then, a year later, our daughter Nancy was born, and I had planned to focus on childcare and housework from then on, but things didn't go smoothly. The cause of that was my husband. After graduating from college, my husband joined a major company. However, his naturally quiet personality and lack of adaptability caused problems, and he quickly resigned. He went from job to job and finally joined his current company 4 years ago. My husband has been working for 4 years now, and he seems to think that our life is stable, but honestly, it's far from that. In fact, it's tough. With my husband's salary, our future is uncertain at best. I'm home. Welcome back. This is for this month. My husband, David, who had just finished work and returned home, gave me living expenses for the month. Thank you. He smiled happily in response to those words and headed to the back room to change from his suit to casual clothes. Watching his back as he left, I couldn't help but sigh. I appreciate it, but... I chuckled as I looked at the amount of living expenses. We also have a 5-year-old daughter. She's at an age that requires a lot of attention, and it costs money, too. And the amount we need for our expenses is incomparable to when it's just the two of us. So, having a bit more money is certainly helpful. But there's a limit to it. The living expenses my husband gives me are always $500. Honestly, it's not enough. In my heart, I wish he would give a bit more, but it would be cruel to ask him for that. Despite being a full-time employee, my husband's take-home pay is only $3,000. Is his company really okay? I can't help but wonder about his low salary. Knowing that, I can't ask for more. Especially with that cheerful face of his. I can't say anything more. And there's another reason I can't ask for more. I've asked for more living expenses before, and my husband's reaction was intense. Are you telling me to give you more? Do you have any idea how hard I'm working with this low salary? I had only discussed it because I thought our situation would get tougher with our daughter, who had just been born, but my husband was furious. Certainly, I should have considered my husband's situation before speaking, but at the time, I was too overwhelmed with childcare to think about him. Well, at least consider changing to a job with a better salary. Stop bothering me. My current job suits me just fine. You, who doesn't even work, shouldn't meddle. I'm sorry. My husband is generally quiet, and people around us describe him as a mild-mannered person, but that's only when he's outside. Inside the house, he acts like he's in charge and is rather domineering, so to speak. He's what you'd call a different person at home. If I say anything that might upset him even a little, he gets angry immediately, just like he does now. This became a bit of a trauma, and I started speaking with caution when talking to my husband. It was one of those times. Mom, are you okay? Huh? Oh, I'm fine. Thanks for worrying, Nancy. Yeah. I work from home. But taking care of my daughter and doing housework makes it difficult to find as much time as I'd like for work, so I don't earn as much as I'd hoped. In those daily struggles, a little angel like my daughter helps heal my heart. Mom, I'm being good. Do your best. She said this while bringing a cup filled to the brim with orange juice in her tiny hands. Thank you, Nancy. We'll go shopping together once I finish work, okay? Yeah. My daughter's smile is so adorable as she nods with enthusiasm. I absolutely don't want to make this child go through any hardships. If I'm earning less, I just need to work harder to increase my income. With my daughter's help, I've been able to focus more on my work. And then, one day, I'm home. Nancy, I bought you a toy. It's the one you've been wanting for a while. My husband, who had never bought a toy before, had bought one for our daughter for the first time. However, when our daughter saw the toy handed to her by my husband, she said, "Mom bought me this same toy." See, and showed it to him. Then my husband's demeanor changed dramatically. He snatched the toy from our daughter and forcefully threw it towards her. Luckily, it didn't hit our daughter, but the thought of what could have happened sent shivers down my spine.
What are you doing? Shut up.
Amidst our shouting, our daughter burst into tears. Perhaps exacerbated by this, my husband grabbed our crying daughter, and with a swift motion, he raised his right arm. Realizing the danger, I instinctively shielded my daughter.
Get out of the way. No.
My husband swung his raised right arm directly towards my face. A heavy, dull thud echoed in the room. Then, without saying a word, my husband went to the back room, changed into casual clothes, and left the house again. Left behind at that moment, I held my daughter tightly. Nancy, are you okay? Though she wasn't sobbing like before, it seemed that our daughter had felt fear at the sight of her father's unfamiliar actions, as she trembled slightly in my arms. Once I made sure our daughter had calmed down, I went to the bathroom and noticed, oh, I have a bruise. A noticeable bruise. It wasn't severe enough to warrant a hospital visit, which was a relief, but I couldn't understand at all why my husband had become so angry. Could it be that he didn't like that I had bought our daughter a toy, or maybe he couldn't accept that it was the same toy? Regardless, the distrust I felt towards my husband after this incident was not something that could easily be erased. The thought of something similar happening again in the future is something I really don't want to think about. 2 hours later, my husband returned. Despite making eye contact with me, he didn't say a word and went straight to the bedroom, carrying his pajamas, and then headed to the bathroom. After he came out of the bath, he went directly to bed. I had some anxiety that something might happen again, but I felt relieved that he went to sleep right away. I decided to sleep in the living room with our daughter. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of the door slamming. It seems like my husband had gone to work. The events of yesterday came to mind, and I couldn't help but sigh. Beside me was our daughter, sleeping soundly. I gently stroked her while strongly wishing that today would be uneventful. 3 months have passed since that incident, and we've been able to live without any further incidents. My husband continued to work hard as before. I took care of household chores and our daughter while also working from home, and life returned to normal. I'm home. Today, I bought a Mont Blanc cake from that popular bakery everyone's been talking about. Come on, let's have some. Thank you.
Daddy, where's mine?
Sorry, Nancy, there isn't one for you this time. It's just for Mommy. I promise I'll get one for you next time, okay? Since that incident, my husband has changed dramatically. He became more talkative, and his domineering attitude at home disappeared. He became kinder to both me and our daughter. Perhaps that incident had changed his awareness. However, there's still one thing that concerns me. It's the moment when I receive our monthly living expenses. My husband's salary remains low. But despite that, he now gives his entire monthly paycheck as our living expenses. This is for this month. Even though my salary is low, this should be enough, right? Wait a minute, you're giving me the entire amount again? We don't need this much. I can cover the shortfall with what I earn from working from home. True. But, isn't it a problem if I only give you $500 for our living expenses? People would laugh if they found out. It's unsettling. Even though he has changed, he's like a completely different person when it comes to this. At that moment, I felt an indescribable sense of unease. It was then.
Hey, Dad, want to take a bath together?
Oh? It's been a while. Sure, let's do it today.
Yeah.
In our daughter's hands was my husband's pajamas. Nancy? It was a sight I hadn't seen in a while. Until recently, my husband and our daughter used to take a bath together every day. However, since that incident, our daughter had been keeping her distance from my husband. Of course, they hadn't taken a bath together during this time. So, I was surprised when our daughter asked him to take a bath with her. As I watched the two of them head to the bathroom, our daughter briefly looked at me. Her eyes at that moment seemed to be trying to communicate something to me. About 10 minutes after they entered the bathroom, our daughter came out first. Then she told me that Dad was going on a business trip starting tomorrow. Mom, Daddy's going on a business trip from tomorrow. A business trip? I didn't hear about that. Until now, he had always informed me when he was going on a business trip, but this time he hadn't. Afterward, I asked my husband about the business trip when he came out of the bath. It was decided suddenly. Suddenly? When and where are you going? It's a bit far away this time. It's an important and confidential business trip. I had never heard of a business trip that needed to be kept secret. Despite feeling uneasy about my husband's inconsistent words, I went to bed that day as usual. Then, the next day, I was awakened by some noise coming from the living room. What? When I peeked into the living room, my husband was getting ready for his business trip and said, "Sorry, did I wake you up? Are you leaving already?" Yeah, as soon as I arrive there, I have to start working. I want to go with plenty of time. It's good to be early, but it's still 5 o'clock. Are you going that early? I'm just an employee, I don't want to be late, so I'm going a bit early. With those words, my husband left for his business trip. Everything about my husband's actions felt suspicious. There's definitely something going on. I thought to myself. And that's when it happened. Suddenly, our daughter woke up and said, "Let's divorce Dad now." Huh? I couldn't help but utter a strange word. Because our daughter had just woken up early in the morning and told me to divorce Dad. Why would our daughter say something that even adults would hesitate to say? I asked her to explain what she meant, and she said, "You see, Daddy is trying to say goodbye to Mom." Huh, say goodbye? Is that true?
Yeah. So we have to do it quickly.
I didn't doubt what our daughter was saying, but it was hard to believe that my husband was thinking of such a thing. However, our daughter was looking straight into my eyes. And her gaze was so serious that it was hard to believe she was only 5 years old. This young but determined gaze didn't seem like she was lying at all. All right, I understand. Nancy, get ready right now. Saying that, I quickly packed our things, and the two of us left the house. A few days later, my husband called me in a panicked tone.
Hey, where are you right now? When I came back from my business trip, no one was here, your stuff was gone. What's going on? Explain it to me.
Welcome back. How was your business trip? I bet going alone wasn't much fun, was it?
What?
Don't try to deceive me. I know your business trips were all lies. All of my husband's business trips had been lies.
What are you talking about? There's no way my business trips were lies. If you're so curious, why don't you contact the company? That way, everything will become clear. You can find out if I'm lying or if you're just mistaken.
If you're going to insist like that, should we really contact the company?
Huh?
If I said that, you thought I wouldn't believe it and wouldn't contact them, right? So you said that so confidently, didn't you?
But you see, there's no doubt that you're the one lying. Because I've already confirmed with the company. And then, they asked me if I knew that you've taken 3 days off starting today, but I had no idea.
My husband let out a small surprised sound on the phone. My husband, who had left the house claiming it was a business trip when it was just a vacation, had spent 3 days moving from place to place in his car to ensure that no one would see him.
Are you surprised?
My husband probably didn't think I'd go this far. Indeed, the old me wouldn't have doubted my husband's words about his business trips and wouldn't have thought of contacting the company. But this time was different. And it was all thanks to our daughter.
Your business trips being lies were told to me by Nancy. Nancy? Don't be ridiculous. There's no way Nancy could know something like that. You're probably the one who put these ideas in her head. Isn't that right?
That's absolutely impossible. You know it too, don't you?
Even though Nancy is only 5 years old, she pays close attention to everything around her and observes us as well. She sees what we're thinking and what we're trying to do right now.
Despite being just 5 years old, our daughter had a somewhat mature way of thinking and a broader perspective. That was probably influenced by TV dramas. Our daughter had been extremely fussy as a baby. I thought it would pass quickly as she grew up, but in her case, it lasted longer and was worse than I had imagined. During those times, I used to watch TV dramas while trying to soothe her. And even now that our daughter had grown up, she continued to watch TV dramas as if it were a matter of course. From the latest dramas to old ones, and even 2-hour mystery dramas. If there was something she couldn't finish watching, she would record it and watch it later. It had reached the point where I, too, was amazed at how much our daughter loved dramas. Perhaps because of that, her way of thinking and speaking naturally became more mature.
You said it before, didn't you? Your duty to protect your family. That's why you should understand your family better than anyone else. That's right. I understand you and Nancy better than anyone else. In that case, you probably understand what I'm about to say. Of course.
In that case, I won't hold back. I'm going to divorce you.
What?
The word divorce that I had uttered caused my husband to vehemently object.
What do you mean, divorce? Why is it coming to that? What don't you like about me? He exclaimed. It's not about whether I like you or not. I'm divorcing you to protect myself before you eliminate me.
Huh?
I don't understand what you mean.
My husband suddenly became quiet. Pressing the issue, I confronted my husband and said,
You don't understand what I'm saying? Well then, let me explain it to you.
The whole situation had started when our daughter had expressed her desire for us to get a divorce. At first, I was baffled, wondering why she would say such a thing. But then she mentioned the word goodbye. It was a word she had picked up from watching TV dramas. She had a particular fondness for mystery dramas, which often included scenes of someone passing away. It seems that the daughter, while watching such scenes, intuitively felt that causing harm to others and as a result, them not being able to breathe, was not a good thing.
So, Mommy, this woman said goodbye, and this man did too. Is this a bad person? Yeah, that's right. People who make others say goodbye like this are bad people.
I see. In other words, the word goodbye that my daughter used means that someone would stop breathing. When my daughter told me, Daddy is going to say goodbye to Mommy, I wouldn't have understood it if I hadn't watched dramas with my daughter. If I hadn't spent time with my daughter, I probably wouldn't have realized the meaning. And if things had continued that way, my life would have been taken by my husband.
Do you really think I would do something like that? It's not about what I think, it's the truth, isn't it? Don't be ridiculous. Why would I need to stop my wife's breathing? Besides, you're quite something. You're going to divorce me just because a 5-year-old said so? Stop making a fool out of me.
It seemed like everything I said was in vain. In that case, I had to show my husband irrefutable evidence.
If you're going to say that, then fine, I'll show you proper evidence. Evidence that you tried to take my life. Evidence?
I hung up the phone and sent the images to my husband's email. Soon after, he called back.
Why would you?
Surprised? What I sent to my husband was the plan he had stored as data on his phone to suffocate me. The details were written meticulously. When my husband returned from his business trip, he planned to take me and our daughter out for a drive, claiming it was a family outing. He intended to give us drinks laced with sleeping pills and leave us in the car. He intended to make it look like a murder-suicide, where he would be the first to discover the scene. What's even more horrifying is that he had planned to harm our daughter as well. It was a plan that seemed inconceivable for a person to execute.
By the way, this information came to light thanks to Nancy. Huh?
It was from the incident when Nancy took a shower with him a while ago. Our daughter, who had come out of the bath ahead of us, quickly came over to me and handed me my husband's cell phone, saying, "Mom, take a look at this." What was displayed on the screen revealed the entire extent of my husband's plan. There, a litany of complaints about me was written. Despite being employed, my husband was frustrated that I, working from home, earned more. It was enough to hurt his pride as a husband and as a man. This accumulation of grievances had turned my husband's pride into a bundle of jealousy, and eventually, he began to believe that if I were no longer around, he could preserve his pride. He started researching ways to eliminate me from his life.
Did you snoop through my phone without permission? I didn't intend to look at it. It was until Nancy told me.
The reason our daughter knew about the contents of his phone went back quite some time. There was a time when Nancy asked my husband if she could watch a TV drama. However, because my husband was also watching TV at that time, he didn't allow her to watch it. Instead, he gave her his mobile phone and told her to play a game or something. When Nancy opened the phone to play the game, she encountered a screen she had never seen before. However, it was precisely the elaborate plan my husband had carefully detailed to eliminate me. It was identical to what she had seen in a TV drama before. It was then that Nancy understood what my husband was thinking and planning.
Even so, it doesn't give you the right to invade someone's privacy like that.
Can you really say that considering what you were planning to do? Do you understand what you were about to do?
Well, I mean, I'm grateful that I trusted Nancy. Otherwise, both she and I might have.
After that, my husband abruptly ended the call. Right after, I received a message on my phone. In that message, it said, "Don't think it will end like this. I have a plan too." 2 hours later, my husband actually came to my parents' house.
So, this is where you are. How did you know I was here? I knew your destination was already decided. Going to your parents' house is obvious.
My daughter was trembling behind me.
Go to the back room, Nancy.
She nodded and headed to the back room. I didn't expect him to come all the way to my parents' house, but since he was here, I had to gather my courage and face him.
So, what did you come here for? You didn't come to take us back, did you? That's exactly why I'm here. We're a family, so we should be together. It's only natural. Together? With the person who tried to eliminate me and Nancy? Stop fooling yourself.
We continued our heated exchange. Don't worry about that incident anymore.
I've changed my ways. From now on, the three of us will live happily together.
It's for you and Nancy. That was definitely a lie. His eyes revealed it.
I've said it before, but I'm getting a divorce from you. I've even prepared a lawyer. Huh? Even if you have it, it's meaningless unless I agree.
True, but it won't come to that.
What?
I showed him something.
What do you want by showing me this plan I had recorded? Are you trying to blackmail me with this? Even if you do that, I won't get a divorce.
I won't resort to threats.
Doing something like that would make me just like you. What I did was report everything, along with all the evidence, to the police. The police? Of course. When someone's life is in danger because of their spouse, they can't just do nothing.
The moment he heard police, my husband's expression changed dramatically, and he tried to grab me. I hurriedly tried to close the front door, but he forcefully stopped me.
You! Don't mess with me!
My normally quiet husband had transformed into a different person. His anger was overwhelming, and I couldn't restrain him with my strength.
Mommy!
I heard my daughter's voice from behind. When I turned around, I saw her trembling in fear as she looked at us. She was so scared.
It's okay, Mom will protect you no matter what.
As I said that, I felt a surge of strength, as if it came naturally. Was it the power of a mother trying to protect her child? I tried my best to close the front door, resisting my husband's strength, but his power was beyond what I had imagined.
It's no use.
Just then, something happened. I heard a voice saying, "What are you doing?" And at the same time, my husband screamed and was pushed backward.
Huh?
I wondered what had just happened and looked outside through the small gap in the front door. I heard voices saying, "Are you okay, Emily?" and "Father." He had appeared just in the nick of time.
Dad, why are you here? You said you were leaving on a business trip today. I happened to forget something, so I came back to get it.
Although it was a coincidence, I was relieved that my father had come.
But seriously, what's going on here? Oh!
My husband, perhaps overwhelmed by my father's presence, collapsed to the ground without a word. It's no wonder. My father is quite tall, standing at 6 feet and 2.8 inches. In addition, my father, who dedicated himself to boxing during his school days and still goes to the gym, has a muscular body that doesn't make him seem like he's in his 60s at all. Even young troublemakers would avoid crossing paths with my father, and my husband had no chance of resisting.
Why are you here, and what were you planning to do with our daughter and granddaughter?
Unable to bear the situation any longer, my husband tried to leave while shedding tears. However, in the next moment, several men caught him.
Don't move! What's going on? Let me go!
The resisting husband was subdued by several police officers and taken away.
That's a relief. By the way, why did David come here? He came for a somewhat extreme final farewell, didn't he?
My husband, who had been reported for attempting to harm me and my daughter. During that time, the four of us, including my parents, decided to move to a distant place just to be safe. I entrusted the divorce papers, child support, and property division to the lawyer, so I wouldn't have to see my husband again. Eventually we got divorced. It seemed my ex-husband had found another job to pay child support. He wouldn't be leading a decent life for a while. On the other hand, I was living happily with my parents and daughter in our new home.
Nancy, take this to your grandparents' place.
Okay.
Be careful not to drop it.
I will. There was no more stress in our lives, and every day was filled with smiles. I sincerely hoped that these happy days would continue forever.